Doopy-doopy-doo. Got it. This meeting is now being live streamed. Jolly good. Hello, everybody. I hope you're all keeping well. Just bear with me a moment or two while I set up. Oh, look, Joseph Delaney is live. That's good. So I'll just pop this on for a second. Everybody, I hope you're all keeping well. Just bear with me a moment or two. There we are. Let's turn those off. And should be able to see comments as they appear here. So how are you all doing in these rather peculiar times? I hope you're all doing well. And I'm really looking forward tonight's little chat with my good friend and mate, Sifu Boggie. And he'll explain what he does, because once he starts, I'll never get a word in edgeways. So I can see that he's just, let's see what he's put here. Sifu Boggie, Taoist life coaching, Qigong fitness, health healing. Good God, he does a lot, and he doesn't have to go on a lot. So let's bring him in, eh? Let's see.
Oh,
Sifu, how are you? Just bear with me. I'm just setting up my Facebook thing.
It's all good.
That's, oh yeah, you sound nice and clear anyway. Just, there's normally people making rude comments at this point, but they don't seem to be doing anything at the moment. Now it says share on here. Do you want me to share this with anything at all?
Yes.
Go on then, tell me where you want me to share this to.
Share it to group wise. You can share it to Sifu Boggie's Croon, I think it is.
Oh God, I've got no idea how to do that. You might have to do it.
Okay, nice.
Go on, I'll let you do that. Now, I don't know why comments aren't coming up, but no, it's all very peculiar, this.
Well, somebody said it's Mercury retrograde, isn't it? So everything's a bit foggy, apparently, a bit not boggy, but foggy. So,
yes, boggy and foggy. Well, here they come now. All the normal scallywags are here, like Denise Chadwick, Heather Nielsen's here, Joanne Thexton, hello Joanne, Catherine Moravec, I think that's how we say it. Kerry Dunn, hello Kerry. Make a Pathway Louise, Dawn McCaffrey, and Rhea Magdalena. Muy bien, muchas gracias, señorita. And I hope all is well in your world. So that's it, they're here. How you doing, old chap?
I'm actually very good. I'm very good. Considering, you know, in some ways my world's flipped upside down, inside out, turned sideways, and taken three steps towards, I don't know, Alaska. It's all good. It's all good. I'm in a new location. I've taken a whole new, you know, job flip. Jumped into the void without a parachute, which is normally actually that used to be me. That used to be a common thing when we jump into things without a parachute. Just go for it. But for the last like 14 years, I've been pretty almost normal. I don't know if I'm allowed to use that word, but
no.
Yeah.
I don't think that you are normal or have ever been normal, Sifu. So you've taken a big leap. I know that, and I know that you're going to share some of those sort of experiences with us. And you can reveal all now, I think. But just to, for people who don't know who we are, my name's Dr. Joe Delaney. I'm not a doctor of medicine, I'm a doctor in medicine. And all that simply means is that I did a PhD in medicine, which looked at how what goes on between our ears impacts upon the rest of our body, particularly at the level of the heart. And what I found out during this research is that rather than using any cognitive techniques, that means bringing in new ways of thinking, you can actually change your physiology to change psychology. That noise that you've just heard there was the lights that I set up falling. So what I've done is definitely, in a sort of Qigong Tai Chi way, is just moved over and switched another one on. Did you see? That was good, that, wasn't it?
You know, it was so magic, you know, I didn't even notice, you know.
No, it was a seamless transition from waving hands in the clouds to turning a light on. Anyway, to go back to what I was going on about, I found out that by breathing in a certain way and changing our emotional state, we can change the way the heart works to change the way the head works. So it's really turning things like cognitive behavioral therapy on its head. And I believe that there's so much going on now in the world that I think there's never been more of a time when we need to keep our feet on the ground and to keep emotionally in balance. And what I found out was, through years and years of illness and addiction and all sorts of things, is that thinking just won't do it for you, because the problems in the thinking departments and the solutions in the heart, or I like to say the heart of hearts. Now, I'm not a religious person, but I do believe when people talk about the soul, then that to me is the deepest and most intelligent part of what we are as human beings. And I think that if we can tune in and sit with that feeling of that innate intelligence and just wait, we can be actually inspired and guided by this intuition. And intuition simply means inner wisdom, really. And Sifu, you know, I didn't know any of this because I was a scientist. I was used to rationalizing and using my so-called logical mind, and it nearly took me to the point of killing myself, you know. So that's where I'm up to. And I do believe these conversations, you know, my thing is to lead with science. So I'm sort of technically a neuroscientist now, because I spend a lot of time talking about something called the autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system, it's a programmed system. And I found out that my programming was mostly wrong. And so what I've realized is that by tuning into breath and a positive emotion from depth, you can almost like deprogram yourself and get restored back to your natural, essential self. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does. And I've always loved, you know, the science, and I love the ancient knowledge, and it's interesting how, so the ancient knowledge, you know, in like Western cartoons and movies, they talk about the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other, and the ancients would actually say, or you know, especially the Taoists, they would say the angel is actually in the heart. The angel is in the heart. And the devil, but they called it monkey mind. They called it, so they called this either, so Taoists would say a Taoist thought as the angel, and Buddhists would say Buddha mind or Buddha thought is here. And they would say that the devil, which they call monkey mind, is actually here. And it's interesting when you look into, you know, like psychology and whatnot, and you know, they actually say, you know, like we have in the forebrain, we have 60 to 90,000 thoughts every single day. That's where all the chaos is. And when we actually go from here, we know there's brain cells in the heart. And the Taoists talk about, if you want to listen to your intuition, listen to your heart, and bring your, you know, bring your yi, your intention to here, to the middle dantian, to the heart. And they talk about, you know, like listening to the Taoist thought or to Buddha mind or Taoist mind, is that when you listen with the heart or listen to the heart, if you have an idea and you don't say, oh, is this good or bad? It's what's the outcome of this situation? Yeah. And if it feels expansive and you feel light and you're, you know, and it makes you smile, then, you know, that's a yes, you should do this. And if it's more that it makes you nervous or scared, or it's making you feel heavy, then it's like, this is not right for now. Or at least the Taoist outcome, there is no good or bad. There's just things that are probably more better now than things that are maybe better later. You know, because they don't necessarily see things good or bad, things as they are. But this is what you and I resonate because of this whole idea. Yeah, the heart is super, super important. because you know, for me, it is where the we talk about guides, or you know, the angel, that intuition. It's there, you know, it's there. You know, that's where it actually resides, and the devil on your shoulder is actually in your head. All those the past, you know, the past worries and concerns. And there's a couple of movies that did it really well, where, you know, like I remember one. I'm not a great tennis lover, but there was a movie called Wimbledon, and the guys, you know, getting ready to do the you know, almost win the game, and in his head he's got all the voices that you heard before all over the movie are now playing all at once. You can hear all the doubters and all the naysayers, and he's just going, well, and that's enough. And that's enough. And he's just bouncing that ball and just breathing, bringing himself back to center. You know, in essence, he's doing a form of Qigong or meditation. Qigong is meditation as well. And the whole idea, he's bringing himself back to center, and then he started again. And it's that thing of that breath, just bringing yourself back to center, you know, allowing yourself to breathe, and you're allowing yourself just to be. This will distract you. This is the whirlwind, you know, the forebrain. There's lots of, you should do this, you shouldn't do that, or what about this, what about that, what about the cat, the dog, and what about the donkey? I don't even own a donkey. Why am I talking about a donkey? You know, there's all that going on in the front of the head. And sometimes you just got to breathe. You know, shut the puck up and just breathe. I said puck. Shut the puck up and breathe, you know, and just allow yourself to come back to center and feel. And it's interesting that, you know, in the West, the movies, all the phones ringing. Was that my ears? The movies, like used to say about logic, and don't listen to the heart. The heart doesn't know what it's talking about, and actually it's the opposite. Listen to the heart. Listen to what you're feeling, because that's the most important thing. You know, logic can sometimes get in the way. Yes, you know, yes, you need it to a degree, but at the end of the day, it's what you feel is more important to all that thinking. But hey, what do I know?
Well, funny you should say about feelings, because as you know, I'm writing a book, and it's called The F-Off Approach to Health and Happiness. And that stands for, people who've got a naughty mind will think that that stands for something else, but in fact it doesn't. It stands for focus on feelings first, right? And there's no F in stress if you focus on feelings first, right? And I've put that title out to my academic colleagues, and they said, oh, you can't call it that. What will it do to your reputation? Do you know what, Sifu? I haven't got a reputation. I don't care, right? In fact, I really couldn't give two hoots about what they think in academia, because I know that when I talk to the ordinary people, right? I nearly said normal there, but I don't believe in normality. When I talk to the normal people, they love it, and they say, go for it, Joe, you know. And I am, and I eventually, when the time is right, it will start to come through. I know that. But I didn't, you see, because I was really only for a long time a one-sided person. And I was learning, you know, I've learned now that I just basically used my left logical linear left brain, my left hemisphere, and I almost like obstructed and blocked off the right hemisphere. And you know, in the yin and yang philosophy of Taoism, you know, the right hemisphere is associated with yin, which is the deeper, visceral, moist, feminine, creative, nurturing energy. Sifu, I didn't have a clue about any of this, and people tried to tell me for years, and my left logical linear, the arrogance, superior so-called mind, right, would think, what a load of old baloney. See, I'm trying to keep this clean here because there might be ordinary people listening. But I've realized now that the yin side and the yang side, which is basically the yang is the outside, the doer, the ergotropic, you know, it's the masculine side. They need to, this might sound peculiar, this, but if they work in harmony with one another, right, you can make healthier choices. And if you make healthier choices, the quality of your life improves. However, this is what I found out. The way to get to balance was to come out of that that bipolarity, if you like, and come into the heart. Because by living in a heart-centered way, you know, and this is to me what Tai Chi and Qigong and breathing, if you work from the heart and the energy is heart-centered, the left and the right hemispheres start to work with one another. There's a sort of a reconnection and a sacred union of these two components, and everything starts to flow. And that's the essence of my PhD, was that when you breathe in, your heart rate speeds up, and when you breathe out, your heart rate slows down. And that's basically when the masculine and the feminine are working harmoniously with one another. And it's become so simple for me now that if I feel tense or disturbed, I don't go forward now in emotional reactivity. And don't think I've got this cracked, because I'm still learning as I go along. But I don't jump forward now in emotional reactivity, because that's basically a very sort of closed-minded approach to living. I've trained myself now, or people have helped me to train, in when I get the grip, is to take a breath and to take a step back. And then through breathing, allow a balanced state to come in, and then think again. And that's my life now. If I'm feeling emotionally disturbed, don't take any action. I put a thing up yesterday about zip it. I zip it because I used to be very quick with my mouth, quick-witted, and I'd cut people down from a distance. You know, I'm not so bad as I used to be. So I've sort of learned to create what they call some mind space. And I think it's more creating heart space, which actually slows the mind down to give you more chance for more inspirational thought to come in. Over to you, Older Bean.
Jolly good, anyhow. Yeah, and that's the, like you were saying about what your peers would think, and that's the thing. It's all this is thinking. The whole thing of honor, and that's the one thing you noticed in like the Japanese. The Japanese is all about honor, and it's all about this. It can be very stagnant. It can be very set in a particular way. And the issue is, what will others think? And it's like, well, actually, there's the Taoist point of view, but a lot of channels have said this as well. People who channel certain beings have said this too. Is that and in psychology, in NLP, there's a certain part on this as well. Is that what others think is their problem, what you think is your problem, and how and what they say to you, how you react to it is your problem. But what you are and how they react to it, that's theirs. So really, it's none of my business what other people think about me. It really isn't. Is that I'm just meant to be me, and the whole point is from that, when you're you, honestly, full-heartedly you, and like, or we sort of say, well, I say, you'll hear me say a lot about divine feminine, divine masculine, but I want people to see them as qualities, not just male and female. Yeah. All of us have those qualities, and the yin yang, the Tai Chi symbol, is representing every one of you has a masculine side, a feminine side. Now, for me, there's a third. The Trinity is the sacred child, and so yes, you get that masculine, feminine, but the actual how I was taught even with the Tai Chi symbol, or the yin yang symbol, the line between the two, it's actually hidden within that. There's a silver mist, and that silver mist is like what actually balances that energy. Because we hear the word balance, we think of flat, like scales being flat, but that's dead line. That's stagnation. The wave. This is why you see me do this, because balance is actually a constantly flowing thing. Relationships, whether it's with yourself, whether it's with other people, they're meant to move. They're not meant to be constant stagnant, and they're not meant to be, set in stone. They actually adapt and turn, and they're meant to, some more than others, but they're meant to be flowing. So that relationship with you, that relationship between the yin and the yang, some days you need to be more assertive, and other days you need to be more receptive. And there are days, or the bit in between, the sacred child, is about the play. You know, allow yourself to be silly sometimes. Allow yourself to play. Now, maybe I take the silly bit a little bit too far.
Yeah,
but
me
I don't
too.
care.
Me too.
But that's the point. I think, you know, I'm silly because everybody else is too freaking serious, and I'm trying to, put a little bit of magic in that world, and it's, you know, it's that. I think a lot of the time I've seen a lot, you know, through myself, my childhood and growing up, but also through, like, I did at school. I actually did child psychology as one of the things, child development. So it's child psychology that I studied, and he was learning about, you know, the whole thing of adults saying, "Oh, you shouldn't do this," and or "Stop talking to yourself," or "That's an imaginary friend," and all of this. And then later on, we go and speak to people. We go and speak to psychics that talk to their imaginary friends all the time. And then, or, you know, is that things that we were told off as a kid, later on you actually think, well, actually that's a good thing. You learn that's a good thing. So it's this learning about this balance. Is we all need to be balanced, both in the yin qualities, the yang qualities, and the sacred child. So the feminine sides with the loving, the nurturing, the masculine sides getting things done, or seeing things in a logical way to a degree, but also that play and that intuition. You need it all. You need it all. And it's this thing of, yes, you know, sometimes we need this full brain, but don't live in it. You know, it's that you want always, you know, you rise up and you come back to the heart. When you're hungry, you go down and you eat, you fill your belly, but then you come back to the heart. You know, it's this thing of balance. It's this thing of flow. And I think, well, I know we're getting back to that. And the reason I know we're getting back to that is because there's lots more people, especially over the last 5 years, but they go back 10 years, go back 20 years. There's lots more people second guessing stuff, or they start going, hold up, what's wrong with this picture? The thing's wrong. And we're seeing that we've been too much closed off. We've been too much separate. We've been too much focusing on certain things. And we've been too disconnected from our hearts and too disconnected from the universe and from that childlike nature. And it's not just about, you know, seeing things in a more flowing way, allowing yourself to go with the flow, and, you know, and don't, you know, stop seeing things more this or that, right or wrong, and just allowing yourself to actually, you know, it's not bad to make mistakes. It's not bad to, you know, a bad day isn't a bad day. A bad day is a learning day. You know, things you learn from. You know, when things go wrong, you learn from it. That's how you learn. We don't learn from everything going right. And, you know, if you won every single competition, if you, the one saying I always remember, if it's Christmas every day, you get bored in 6 months. By 6 months, you'll be bored if it's Christmas every day. So you want things to challenge you. You want growth. But of course, you don't want too many challenges that you don't grow at all, but it's finding that balance. And over to you.
Good God, I do. You don't half go on, you know. You know, they call me Dr. Lightheart, you know, but, you know, couldn't be further from the truth, really, you know, because I think sometimes I'm the most serious man on the planet, only because I seem to see things a little bit before time, and I'm not being some sort of egomaniac there. It's just I see things clearly. And what's come to me a long time ago is that we live in an upside down world. You know, we really do. And most people are okay with carrying on with that, really. But there are more and more people who are almost like spinning off the wheel now and saying, hang on a second, you know, working hard and working 70 hours a week and going home and sitting down and eating something and falling asleep and then doing it again the next day. Something seems to be wrong here, you know. And I can see clearly in Latin, caput, you know, caput capitis. And that's the root of capitalism, really. And I think we've been, as you say, we've been head driven by, if you like, the more masculine tendencies within us. And I like what you said, the masculine and feminine qualities, not male and female, because there are males, you know, who are very feminine, you know, and they're very creative and they're very nurturing and very sensitive. And then, you know, there's women who can be very cut through, very hard, very, you know, and so really I believe each individual is unique in the skills and the attributes and the gifts that they bring into this world. I honestly believe that, you know. And there's a beautiful poem I like. It's from the prophet. And it says, your children are not your children. They come through you, not from you. So we don't create these kids. They come through mums, you know, as a gift from the universe into this. See, I've got a big thing going up my spine now when I talk about this. And I think this needs to start not in school. It needs to start at the moment of conception, right? And I see this very clearly, that most of us on this planet are either conceived in drugs or drink or something else, you know. So, you know, I see all this very, very clearly, that what we've missed out on really is the real tenderness, the closeness, the time, the appreciation and all that stuff, you know. And people might think, Christ, I'm turning soft in my old age. But really, to be honest, I've always been like that, really, you know. And I think what's happening now, whether we like it or not, is there's a global shift in consciousness where, if you like, this sacred feminine quality is washing across the planet now, and it's cleaning up our act for us, you know, despite ourselves, you know. So it's clear to me, Sifu, that you know, more and more people are becoming aware of, if you like, now the spiritual side, you know, that there's maybe many, many more things going on in the invisible realms, right, than we realize, you know. But if we learn to tune in and mindfully go deeper, then it's almost as if our radar expands and we can pick things up before time. That's not to say that these energies can't be manipulated. And anyway, I'm not going to go too deeply in that there, but, you know, I think the manipulation of these energies, if you go more mindfully and deeper into meditation, you can actually pick up and discern what's positive. Like you said before, if something's driving you on and you feel enthusiastic and you feel loving and you feel open and you want to be helpful, then I'd probably go with that. If you feel angry, resentful, guilty, shamed, or all that, I'd take a step back and say, hang on, I don't want all that. You can get away from me. I'm not interested, you know, because I honestly believe that negative emotion attracts negative emotion, you know. So if we can learn to sit with it and say to ourselves, hang on, how's me breathing and how do I feel? Some people call this the inner weather. What's me inner weather like? Is it bright and sunny? Or is it shitty, showery, and everything else? Well, hang on, I'm going to change the state, you know, weather modification through breathing, we'll call this, you know. So you do that, your heart opens, and it almost like seems to attract more positive things to you, you know. I know that that doesn't sound very neuroscientific, but I can point now to hundreds and hundreds of papers to say our positive attitude changes the way chemicals in the brain work, which causes more positive nerve pathways to be formed, which bring on better choices in the future. But we have to stop. And it's unfortunate, like me and like you to a degree, you know, we had to get very ill, right, before we sort of become, we took our eyes and looked inwards for the answers rather than look outside. And I would say to anybody, by all means, listen to stuff, read stuff, but shove it in your heart. And almost ask your heart, is this something that I need to pay attention to, right? And if your heart says no, no, don't discard it, because it might come back next week and be the thing. So it's almost like becoming aware of one moment at a time and living your life from one moment to the next. I'm just going to say one thing, because I want you to talk about, you know, these things that you're setting up. I know that you've moved house and you've moved job and all that sort of thing. So I want to hear about what's going on with Paul Boggie Brighton, actually, you know, and tell us a bit about the move you've just made, maybe only if you want to, the job you've just given in, you know, because I know you were a CPO, a close protection officer, or you're like a bodyguard for a long time. So you've got all these skills and attributes, but you don't go on much about them really. So over to you, boss.
Oh, thank you, boss. So, well, for the last 14 years, I was actually I worked for the Met Police, and I was what's called a PCSO, which is a Police Community Support Officer. So I wasn't a full trained policeman as such, but you know, we still have the citizen right to arrest. We still had to deal with confrontational, you know, I've still been spat in the face. I've still had people, you know, threaten me, especially if you know the borough of Hillingdon and Hayes, you know, it's Hayes, twinned with hell. You know, it's not the worst place in the world, but it's definitely a lot better. Yeah, as a PCSO, I mean, as close protection, I dealt with a lot more hairier stuff. But as a PCSO, it was about crime prevention. Our job was to be more visible. So, you know, I was known as the big guy on the bike, because when I had the stab vest on, the Met vest, it made me look even bigger than I actually am. But I used to cycle around doing about 20 miles a day on the bike. And I dealt with crime prevention, so had to like, if people wanted, like, scared about their house or you know, personal protection, we would go and do talks on that. Whether it was in local cafes, libraries, going to residential homes. We used to do that. When there was burglaries, we would go there, as I called it, the after the horses bolted hack, which is like they've got burgled, then we would tell them how not to get burgled. It's like, it's a bit freaking late now, isn't it, son? And it's like, but it's just my job. And so it was a lot of that sort of stuff. And then there was a big tourist attraction where I used to work in Ruislip called the Lido, and 5,000 people a day would turn up to be what's supposed to be the secret beach of London. Well, it's not that secret. 5,000 people know where it is every single freaking day, so it's not that freaking secret, is it? But it was that sort of stuff. So I did that sort of stuff and had to deal with shoplifters, and so it wasn't necessarily full tilt police, but it did still. I still had a sergeant we dealt, and there was police officers we worked with, and we did SNT, which is Safer Neighbourhoods Team. So for those who are old enough to remember Heartbeat, it was sort of like that sort of policing. We dealt with, and where I was, Ruislip, which was in the borough of Hillingdon, you're right on the edge of London. So it's sort of, we call it West London, but you had the suburbs, there was like country area. We had this black park, which, Ruislip Lido, which was, you know, surrounded by woods and whatnot. And I, like I say, I could occasionally deal with drunkards on a Saturday night. And then at the same time, I deal with an escaped horse running down the road, or a couple of cows. I've had escaped cows before and had to stop traffic on cows. But then we, you know, get other things like, you know, like I said, burglaries. And it was that sort of job. And with that sort of job, or working with the police, it's a very we're talking about the masculine energies and feminine energies. It's very masculine, very logical mindset, and they love having. They control everything. They sort of like will have we called it end count, which is like a training program. And there was a joke in the police. They said that there's even a training program, end count, for how to boil a kettle, because, you know, just in case you do it wrong, we'll teach you. So if you ever seen Hot Fuzz, and the joke in Hot Fuzz, the movie Hot Fuzz, there was like a level 3 in cycling. Yes, it really does exist in police. There are actually 3 levels of cycling. It's that, let's say, just controlled. You know, everything's set. And then for somebody like me, there were people who said, "Boggie, how the freaking hell did you get in? You know, with everything you've done in the past, how did you get in?" I said, but it's, you know, I did, and it was obviously meant to be. And it was ironic that I meant to do it for 2 years, ended up, I was going to say, just do it for a couple of years, and then I was going to move down to the coast to be near my daughter, ended up doing it for 14 years. And it was a great job in the essence of, like, it was very good money. And it was sort of an easy job, as in, because everything's so set, you got to do things in a set way. It's very easy to get into a rut. It was very easy to get into, like, doing that job. And like I said, 14 years went by. But the Boggie side of me, the the artistic side of me, the flowing side of me, over 14 years. I would say for myself, I got to a point where I was close to depression.
Yeah.
Because I just wasn't happy anymore. And this was back in 2016. I was still working in London, and I actually tried to create in Hove, which is near Brighton, so 74 miles away. Once a week, I was traveling all the way to Brighton to do a Tai Chi class, and then travel all the way back the same day. And of course, people would say, "You're mad." It's like, I freaking loved that. I loved, that whole experience. But I was trying to, the sea has always been a place for me where it always supercharges me. It always brings me back to my heart. It always helps me. And, I realized, there's this whole metaphor that I think we get stuck in ruts. I think we do jobs because it's the right thing to do, or it helps you in a certain way. But if it's not what drives that heart, if it's not what fuels you, if it's not your true passion, it will slowly eat you inside. That not doing what you're actually meant to do will drive you inside. And my dad passed away last year, and I loved him dearly. But my papa was very much, oh no, what about this? And he'd worry about everything, and he was very much the worrier, and very much, oh no, the Tai Chi hasn't worked now. It'll never work. You should give up on it. It's never going to work as a profession, as a job. But it was always eating away at me. It was always there. It's always been nicking there. And finally, in this last year, the opportunity, I met a partner who we've got this beautiful 9 acres farm called Setcops Farm in Lincolnshire. And she does Airbnb and camping, and she does weddings, and she's always wanted to expand that and to do more. And we originally, when we first met each other, she was talking about, oh, would you like to do an event down here? And I said, oh, that's like your place, like the dream I've always dreamt. Love that area and the land. And our relationship had expanded to the point where I could take that leap. Now, for a lot of like the police-minded friends I have, a lot of them, it's like, you're giving up a perfectly good job. You're 3 years away from retirement. Like the 55, I can technically retire, not full pension, but technically retire. You're 3 years away from retirement, and you're giving up, a perfectly good job. You're crazy. You're mad. But it's that thing of, I think you get to, well, at least I got to a point where, in my past, I have been ill. In my past, as a kid, I was very much a warrior. I had ulcers, I had stomach ulcers. And, me and Doc have done this show on this. I tried to commit suicide in my teenage years, because I just didn't understand the world. The world seemed to be full of hate and full of anger. And I just wanted to be loving and sit, make people smile. And it seemed to be very aggressive and very anti everything. And I couldn't handle it. And like I said, that bout of depression, there was a friend of mine who died of leukemia back in 1994, and he knew of my part. He was sort of there at the beginning of that when I was going through that. And he said, I want you to promise me you'll never take your life, and you'll always, and he was very much a scientist. He was very much doing things the logical way, but near the end of his life, he sort of said, I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did, that I've regretted not doing things. I kept to the book, I did things in a certain way, and now, I'm about, now I've got leukemia, I'm about to die, everything's about to go, and I haven't done the things I actually wanted to do. Promise me you'll never take your life, and promise me when you get the opportunities to do what you want to do, you do them. And I promised him, and I've always had that in the back of my head, but it's always been, back in 2016, there was a big dark tunnel, and it's, like we said, the tunnel and the light at the end of it. Couldn't see the freaking light. There was no freaking light. I know it was a tunnel, but I couldn't see the freaking light, but I knew it was there. I knew at some point things would open up, things would flow, something would happen. And the wonderful, there's a lady called Anne Church, progressionist, and she did reading for me once, and she actually described this place that I'm at now. She described to a T. He said there's going to be 9 acres of land. Some of it's going to be woods. You'll meet somebody who you'll love immensely. They'll love you, and you'll be, balanced. You'll be, you'll be the boss. You'll be the boss, and you'll both like work together. And it's what I've always wanted. The place is what I've always wanted, and that sort of partnership is what I've always wanted. But to get it, I had to let that all go. I had to literally go, bollocks to it all, won't spare, bollocks to it all. And if it happens, it happens. And if it don't, it don't. And when I did that, when I let that go, and then last year, like I said, my dad passed away. And, we've just gone through the year of 2020, a year of chaos. And then my dad passed away, and he actually was cremated on May the 4th. May the 4th be with you.
Yeah.
How about that for a Star Wars analogy? And also on May the 4th, my old account, Paul Boggie Brighton, got deleted, and I had to create the account I'm on now, which to me was a metaphor. Let go of the past, create a new. And so for me, that's where moving forward. So okay, I've got to go to Worthing. I know it's crazy. I was still working in London at the time. So I was, for the first 3 months, I was going to and fro every day. And people thought I was a nutter. Well, you're right there, but I'm going to do it anyway. But I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Being in West London in the daytime, and then finishing, going home, sitting there by the sea, hearing those waves. Absolutely loved it. And then when my partner Eleanor came along, I just when we just started talking, I actually got in my head the voice saying, "Oh, blimey, you've just settled in, and now you're about to you move." And that was even months before we'd even really talked about it. It's like, what are you talking about? But it happened. That's the way it is. And I'm not, compared to, I used to be the furthest away from the coast, 74 miles. In the UK, I think 76 is the furthest you'll be away from the coast anywhere in the UK. And now where we are now, we're only 20 miles away. So the sea's not far, still far away. But I live in beautiful land. You've got the stars. I love it. And the idea of now, from this, one side of me, we're going to go into glamping, and the glamping side allows me to be a chef again, because I used to be a chef and a baker. And like you were saying about the 70 hours a week, done that, 70 hours a week, thinking, what the fucking hell am I doing? I said, what the fucking hell am I doing? And then, so the glamping will allow me to do the chefing side, and I've got friends who are in bands, so we're going to bring over music and do the music stuff. But also, it gives me the opportunity to honour my seafoods, and we have a little cabin, which we're going to turn into the healing sanctuary or park. It's like the dog Purdy, the beautiful dog Purdy. Let's see if I can show the dog. There's the dog.
Hello, Purdy.
Purdy is knocking the camera. So my cameraman Purdy's not doing a very good job. Give me loads of fuss, but she's not doing a very good job. It's given me the opportunity to do what I've always feel I was meant to do, is do the healing, do the teaching. So I've learned, studied healing arts, massage, reflexology, all of that. And now I've got the opportunity to do it. But it also allows me, for a long time, it's funny that COVID's done this to everybody else, but for a long time I've been online because of my job, because of the police job. I had to be very particular what I did. I couldn't be too public, as such. And they don't like you talking about the police, because if I was to say, "Oh yes, I teach Tai Chi and I work for the Met," they feel you're promoting you're promoting your role by saying you're in the Met. You're bringing up your standards, and you're promoting in a way that's using the job as a promotion board. So they don't like you doing that. So I very much kept away from that. And for the last 14 years, it didn't say what I was. Didn't say what I did. But now I can be myself. I can actually be that silly and be more open. And I did do shows, and yes, I did open up a bit. But a lot of the time, 12 hours or more of my day, I was actually very restrained, very in a certain way. And there's a close protection side of me that does that, and it's good. But it was too much that way. It was too much being that all the time. And now I can be more myself and do the things I want to do. And working on the farm, working on Cox Farm, but cleaning all the rooms, and then we've got alpacas, so looking after the alpacas and starting to do the shows, and that's at the moment. I've got enough to last me a period of time, and so the money's not coming in. Didn't have as good. I don't have the Met wage packet anymore, but I'm a lot happier, and I'm working hard and doing a lot of hours. But physical stuff, I'm a lot happier.
Your energy's changed. My ears are worn out now, Boggie. But your energy's changed, your whole sort of complexion's changed, and it's lovely to see you so happy and vital, really. Because, we're sensitive people, and we can pick up mood states in auras and things like that, things I never used to believe in, but I live my life like you wholeheartedly now. And, for a long time, I had a very scientific mind that wouldn't open up. I was what's called broad-minded. And I thought I was open-minded, but in actual fact, I was very, very closed-minded. And my whole life was determined by a set of scientific standards that I wouldn't move away from. And what I've had to do is basically jettison them, right? I've had to jettison all the teachings that I was brought up with. And what I do now is I see that there's an external moral code and there's an internal moral code. And I've had to let go of the external moral code because basically, and I didn't understand any of this, it was just like social programming, and I'm not blaming anybody for this, and there's lots of things that are going on in the world now. And one set of people are saying this and another set of people are saying that. I don't take any notice of any of it whatsoever now. I just focus on how I'm feeling, and if I'm get to know something, it will appear before me, it will emerge, and it will be right in front of my face, and that's like you. I had to let go of any planning, any scheming, any ducking and diving. And when I did that, I almost surrendered to the universe. And I said, from this moment on, will you please guide? See, look, here it comes. Thing up my spine now. I don't know how that works. I'm not really bothered, but it's a positive sign. But I get a big oosh up my spine. And I surrendered and I say, look, from now on, I'm going to leave it to you to manage my life for me. And in the last 30 years, my life has changed beyond my wildest dreams. And it's just basically I just became a Taoist overnight. And I started to just go with the flow, because this illusion that we've got any control is like insanity to me now. It's almost, I see my life now as a reel of film that's coming in, and every day is basically a new stage, a new set of scenery, a new set of players. And what I've got to do is use that thing that's appeared before me to the best of my ability to create something more beautiful, more useful, more helpful. I'm not a saint, nowhere near it, and I don't want to be a saint either, but the whole point is, how do I guide it? I guide it with the feeling that comes from deep within me. Well, how does that work scientifically? I've got no idea, and I don't really care, to be honest with you, but I do know how to help people to get in touch with it. And this is how you do it, Boggie. You put your hand on your heart like that, and you tap on it, right? And that's called your heart center. So you get the feeling from that heart center, and you just imagine that you're slowly and deeply breathing all the way in, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you can do it with a positive emotion, and do that to start with for 3 10-minute sessions a day. Now your head will start jumping in. Oh, this is old bollocks. This, I'm not having this. I haven't got time for this, that, and the other. You just got to say, don't fight with the head. Just say, listen here, sonny, monkey. Just belt up a second, because I know loads of people have done this and their lives have got better. So just for the moment, butt out, right, while we do this. And I swear to you, mate, you know this because you practice this too, right? It's transformed my life completely. And when I get angry now, if I take the angry feeling and breathe this feeling away, it almost transforms it into more vitality and more energy. You know, have I got it sussed? No, because there's always something to learn, always. I only ever feel like I'm scratching the surface, you know. And, you know, judgments come in. Of course I judge. I'm a human, I judge. But when I get a judgment, I get a gut clench. And it's, again, that's just my ego saying, hang on a second, you know. So I know the difference now between flowing and a sort of ego disconnected state, and when I'm ego attached. And when I'm ego attached, I feel tense, I feel contracted, and I can't think clearly. So, you know, that's where I'm up to and what I'm learning. And, you know, I feel fantastic in myself most of the time. Do I experience any difficulties? Of course I do, you know. And like you, I've practiced various sort of martial arts and various ancient things. You know, I'm a Reiki master. Don't tell my academic colleagues this, but I'm a Reiki master. You know, I've practiced various forms of Tai Chi, Yang style, Chen style, Falun Gong. You know, I'm a massage therapist, and lots of people don't know this about me, you know, but I'm supposed to be one of a world-renowned expert in myofascial trigger point massage and its connection to the heart. So I have all these sort of other strings to me bow, but more than anything else is I'm trying to help people to become more mindful. And in actual fact, more mindful is almost like paradoxical, because the more heartful you become, the less your mind butts in, you know. So the more that you can metaphorically decapitate yourself and throw your head away with all its standards and shoulds and everything else, the more peace comes. And I'll shut up in a second, but I do know one thing, that the more expectations you have about how things should work out, the less peace of mind. So I tend to have no expectations. I turn up, I feel my way through things, and it seems to be working much, much better, you know. And other things that have helped me, Boggie, and I did say I was going to shut up, but I was telling lies, right? Other things that I do really, if you like, to reset the balance of my autonomic nervous system. Wild water swimming, I love it, you know. There's also whole body vibrational therapy. That's where you basically stand on a vibration plate and sort of let go, and it almost like resets your nervous system up your spine as well. That's helped me a lot. Tai Chi, Qigong, running. Well, it's not really running, it's more jogging really. But all these things help me to sort of reset the balance. And that's to me what life's all about. It's not being, like you said, it's not being this or that. It's being the other. So more of that other, you know, is better for you. Over to you, boss. Stick an advert out. Can I just say, I've looked at the Setcops Farm site. Beautiful web page. I suggest I'll put it up on my page. Click on that. Have a look what they're up to, and I'm sure that you'll enjoy that. But over to you, mate.
Yes, and this thing of, you'll hear me a lot use the word Taoist, but Tao simply means the way, the balance, the path. And like we said, we're not talking about a set balance, we're talking about an adaptive thing. And you know, like people say, oh, you know, oh, you've done so much. And it's like, yeah, you know, you're not meant to, you know, specialize and narrow down to one single thing. You know, you breathe, you talk, you know how to get dressed, you know how to eat, you know, you drive a car, you're already doing several things. Why do you think you have to narrow down everything else? And it's the whole idea of everything, the Shaolin way. So the Shaolin monks, they were monks, you know, the Shaolin, the orange robes, the warriors, you see, they're monks. And the Shaolin monks were all about everything you learn helps everything else you do. So it's this thing of doing these different things and finding the things that help you. And like sometimes it'll be one thing, but sometimes it'll be something else. And that's the important, the important thing. And it's this whole thing of, this does get in the way for too many people. And it goes into what I call politics. Not politics, is politics. And
Excellent.
it still happens even in Tai Chi and Qigong. You get people say, "Oh, you're not doing it this way, and you're doing that way." But when you read the ancient texts, they say, as long as it works for you, as long as it's not harming you and hurting you, as long as it keeps to as long as it keeps to the body mechanics, so your body, unless you've got 3 legs and 15 arms, your mechanics, it will work in a certain way, and as long as it stays with that, then it doesn't matter which way it is. It doesn't matter if you start touching with your left hand or your right hand or your third hand. It doesn't matter. It's going with the flow that works for you. It's meant to work for you, but that's why there isn't one type of music. There are many types of music. That's why there isn't one type of food. There's many types of food.
Of course.
There is no right or wrong. There's only what you prefer and what you don't prefer. So we've got to sort of, stop trying to judge others, because that's very much an ego monkey mind, that little devil getting in. Oh, you're not doing what I do, so it's got to be wrong. It's just not what you do. And we've got to start finding our own personal flow and just adapt, doing things our own way. And I mean, over the years, over the last 40 years, I've helped people with anxiety, stress. I've helped people with autism, dyslexia, dyspraxia, Crohn's disease, arthritis. I think I would say that one. And I've helped those, and they've come to me and they've done exercise. They go, "This has really helped." And then lots of people it's almost like whatever you focus on, you grow and you attract. So the way I teach things in a way that I try to keep it a little bit silly. I try to be very factual about information, and also I try to both do the spiritual side and the scientific side, because that's how I work. That's my Tao. I like the body mechanics. I like knowing about science. I like knowing about quantum physics and explaining that quantum physics have said that the meridians, that they found the meridians. One camera found the meridians. Camera's found the chakras, the aura, the Merkaba. They've got this. And I like this balance between science and spirituality. It works for me. And if it works for you, come and play in my crew, whether it's online or real life. And if it doesn't work for you, love Chi and Shen, I'll see you whenever, and that's, for me, that's important. It's there is no right or wrong. There are other teachers out there, and there are different ways. And for me, at the end of the day, what works for you is your right way, because otherwise, like I say, there's different foods, there's different musics, and that's the point. It's meant to be that we're all different. So things that resonate with you, find a way to do them, whatever it is. And things that don't resonate with you, as best you can, don't do them. That's it.
Sounds simple, doesn't it? I mean, you said before, it needs to be limitless expansion, really. And if you can't stand up for yourself and you're always backing off, then obviously you need to learn to start to stand up for yourself. And then you've got balance. So in any circumstance, you could decide, I need to stand up here or I need to back off, And I realized I was so limited in lots of things, believe it or not, I was like a shrinking violet until I got the drink down me. And that basically disinhibited me and allowed this other side to come out with disastrous consequences a lot of the time. I mean, I did some horrendous things in drink, and I look back and think, who was that? How did I do that? And all that, and I've been allowed to I've allowed myself to forgive myself for all that now, because, Boggie, I didn't have a clue, my intentions were never to harm anybody, never to hurt anybody, just be helpful. But I didn't realize there was so much stuff pressed down and repressed in me, that when I drank, it all came up in an uncontrolled way, you know, and I can see clearly. But what it's helped me do is it's helped me to realize just how many people are depressed because they're not living the life that they were born to live. And it's not about, for me anyway, it's not necessarily about making loads of money and climbing the ladder of success and being this, that, and the other. It's about being true to yourself. And, you know, at the entrance of the sort of the oracle at Delphi, you know, it just says, know thyself. End of story, because I know that now. I didn't have a clue about myself. I know who was doing what with who and all that sort of business. So my focus was always external. But once I started to look at myself and got more and more honest, I started to feel more and more free, you know. And I'm hoping to come to Setcop Farm and maybe do something with you or whatever, you know. No promises. If it's meant to happen, it'll just fall into place, you know. But I like all the things. I've got my mate here, David Ward, you know. He said that sound bath meditation's helping him. Well, you know, I agree. And I think sounds and toning and all that, you know, because I'm working on something scientifically called chromatooptogenetics. And what I believe is it almost like vibrates all the gunk that we've been covered in, the epigenetic shroud, I call it, you know, and allows the essential self to come through, you know. So I'm trying to say scientific words along with these ancient therapies, and it does seem to be having some success. Strangely enough, I'm actually giving a talk at a national conference tomorrow on these very things, you know, non-medical interventions that will work alongside medicine, not in place of it, work alongside medicine for the benefit of the patients. And I'm not opposed to medicine if it's taken in the right amounts at the right time for the right condition, no problem at all. But I honestly believe there are lifestyle interventions, the sort of things that you're offering, that will help people as well to find out what works for them, you know. And if you find something that works for you and it's natural and it's healthy, just do more of it. And if it doesn't work for you, stick it on the back burner because it might come back next year or whatever. So we're coming to time, old chap. So I'll just give you the last few minutes to say anything that comes to you.
Well, I wanted to quickly say, Lou, you were talking about like the forgiveness, and I think forgiveness is very important. But sometimes, you know, like people talk about, oh, you know, like somebody has done you wrong and you can't forgive them. It's not about forgiving them. They don't even have to know about it. It's about you forgiving yourself for that happening and letting it go. The Buddhists actually have this great analogy. They have this great saying that having a rucksack on your back, and every time something happens, you pick it up and you put it in your back. And over a period of time, that rucksack gets heavier and heavier and heavier. So everything that happens, you're carrying with you. So when something traumatic happens and you're still thinking about it, and it's still in your heart and your thoughts, that's burdening you down. That's using up your energy. And the Taoists very much talked about illness is dis-ease, is disbalance, is blockage. And one of the things that blockages you the most is traumatic events, emotions that are stored in your organs and that affect you. So letting things go, releasing them, it's about you. It's not about them. They don't even have to know. They never have to know. But you forgive them you forgive yourself for that situation, and you let it go inside you to help release that burden, to let it go, to make you lighter, to allow things to flow more. So that's the last thing on that. And then if you're interested in energy work, Tai Chi, Monday to Friday on Sifu Boggie's Shundao School of Qigong, that's my page. You'll see, it will also be my profile. If you're, you can find me as Sifu Boggie if you want to join my profile. Friend request me, and every Monday to Friday at 9 a.m. UK time, I do Tea Time Live, which is a 20-minute to 40-minute Qigong, because you know me, I can't stop talking. So the 20 minutes end up being about half an hour, 40 minutes long, but it's a little Qigong class of exercises to wake you up in the morning. And then in 2 weeks' time, so not this Friday, next Friday, You'll see it on my page and on the you see on my profile on the page as well. There's an event next Friday, 6 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Eastern, and it's called Shen class. So it's Taoist meditation, and Taoist meditation is a little bit different to normal meditation. We like to move the body as well as imagining, visualizing, as well as breathing. So everything's connected as one. And there's a different little meditations we'll do. We'll go to the island, we'll do the cooking pot meditation. My students know, oh, that one, I like that one. So there's little fun ones. It's like daydreaming again. So if you're interested in that, that's not this Friday. It's a week Friday, 6 p.m. UK time. It will be recorded and it will be there. And that's a free class, but then I actually that will be the introduction to one of my classes that I actually do online as well. So that's it. You go look me up on Sifu Boggie or Sifu Boggie School, Shundao School of Qigong, and that's it. Over to you, Doc.
Thanks very much. Just a final point that I learned about forgiveness, that resentments, it's called resentment because we keep playing over the negative scenario. And what that does is, and the Buddhists have said this for a long time, as well as others, it's like poison, hoping the other person dies, you know, because we're generating all these toxic chemicals and it's actually killing us. So we don't let these things go for their benefit, you know, because it's not like condoning bad behavior, you know, but we let it go. We detach with love. And all that means to me is it means that we can breathe away the chains that bind us. And it's simple. It's just called mindful breathing with a positive emotion. So the out breath is the flushing away breath. So if you feel yourself getting angry or resentful or you feel ashamed, you can basically just generate a feeling of releasing and breathing it away and just let it go. And I swear to you, you know, I've practiced that for a long time. As soon as you let a big chunk of stuff goes, the energy that was keeping it down comes back into your system and you start to feel more vital, more energized and stuff. Boggie, I love you, mate. We'll do our Doc and Sifu and Doc thing. We'll carry on with that. And I'll put this up on YouTube either later on tonight or tomorrow. And I'll also put the links up for you. So God bless you, mate, and keep smiling and see you soon.
Bye for now. Love you, dude.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.